All trustees will be in attendance. We have one on her way. I'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Alcala, please lead us. To the Republic. Under the General Administration Part 1, presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the district. The agency is prohibited by law from discussing issues not on the agenda brought to them at this time. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak this time?
No requests.
Oh, okay, Mr. General Manager, thank you. Next is 1B, monthly year-to-date revenue and expenses. Any updates on this agenda item?
Quick update. Total revenue, $3.9 million. Total expenditure, roughly 2.1, and that includes capital improvement projects. We're still closing the books for last fiscal year, so we'll probably have final numbers come August, September timeframe.
Okay, thank you. Any questions among the trustees? All right, on to the consent agenda. I'll accept the motion, or if you have any questions, to pull. Second. Trustee Orozco moved, and Trustee Alcala seconded. Can you call the roll, Mr. General Manager?
Trustee Alcala?
Aye.
Trustee Orozco?
Aye.
Trustee Cepizio-Hol?
Aye.
President Guerrero?
Aye. All right, next is a regular agenda, Part 3, consideration of awarding a construction contract between Reclamation District 900 and the lowest responsible bidder for the Blacker Canal Slope Rehabilitation Project issued for bid May 29th, 2024. Mr. General Manager, do you have an update about this?
Yes, give me a second while I pull the paperwork here.
Okay.
Aaron, you can put up the first PDF there.
A visual.
So the Blacker Canal project's been an ongoing project with RD900 since about 2015. The district received a grant from FEMA roughly around 2017. The project's been in a series of designs, delays, COVID, and so on. We eventually got to the point where FEMA's told us we need to get the project done or they're going to pull the funding. So we're on a time crunch now to get this project done. So we sent it out to bid. The engineer's estimate was between 3.2 and 3.8 million. The bids came in between 4.3 and 5 million for the project. So they came over a little bit over, well, a bit over the engineer's estimate. With this project, we're eligible for about $850,000 in grant funding from FEMA to, again, cover some of the costs. I did a rough estimate to complete the project. With the deduction from FEMA, it's roughly a $4.4 million project to complete it, and that includes additional permits, additional mitigation sites that we have to buy into, environmental inspection, construction management, and a staging area. So when all said and done, after the FEMA grant reimbursement, it's roughly $4.5 million to move this project forward. With that, before we jump into more discussion, if we change the project, we lose the funding. We wrote a project description for FEMA, so they want the project that we wrote. So if we minimize the project, we lose the funding. If we delay the project, we lose the funding. So anything other than doing this project, we would lose that grant funding. Again, this started well before my time and so on. I was told they did some cost estimates, and this was the most cost-effective project to move forward with. With that said, on the screen, if you want to first go back to the very first the location map. So Blacker Canal is roughly 3,000 feet from Jefferson Boulevard all the way to the main canal. So it wiggles through the subdivision right here. This project it's a gabion basket retaining wall. So it's basically like a chain link fence in rectangular shape filled with cobble rock to support the wall. So if you want to go to the next slide. So this slide here is actually a gabion wall at Touchstone here in West Sacramento. You go to the next photo also to little closer up. So you can kind of see this chain link fence. With this kind of design, it does allow for plant life to grow through. Again, we get a lot of cattails in our canals, so we would get plant life back in the canal. We just make sure that the channel isn't choked up with debris and cattail and so on. But once it gets closer to the edge, we would allow it to grow. And I know a lot of the residents in the area would appreciate that. This is their wildlife, and I'll show you a video here in a minute of what it looks like now. But it is a jungle out there, and a lot of it needs to be cut down so we have access. One of the big things on the north side of this channel, we have to walk in. The equipment cannot get in because we've lost so much bank over the years. And so this would, excuse me, this would reestablish the canal embankment for us to actually drive equipment in and maintain it properly. So with that said, if you want to hit the video, and oh, here's the manufacturers. Blown up doesn't look real pretty, but you stack them on top of each other at whatever height you need to create this retaining wall. So we've got a drone, and so we went out and flew a portion of Blacker Canal. So this is what it looks like. On the right-hand side, that's the embankment that we've lost the majority of. And you'll see in places the backyards are right there. You see all the trees that are planted. A lot of the trees were planted by the homeowners. Again, they created a more foresty-like conditions. And unfortunately, that created issues with fish and wildlife.
Why? What was the issue?
Mitigate for those trees. So that they really hit us hard with mitigation for removing of even non-native trees this time. So, and you can see the rock slope protection there on the right side. It's been, they've tried to protect it over the years. I don't know when that was put in and if the district did it or the city or landowners, but the left-hand side is still in pretty good shape, but you can see the erosion in the channel. We can still drive down that, but both sides need to be protected. Roughly, we're getting a 16-foot wide road on both sides to access the embankment and the canal. That's what it was originally when this was built, and it was probably built back in somewhere between the 40s and the 60s, so it's been out there for quite a while. And this towards the end, as we get towards the main canal here on the right-hand side, it gets real close to the fence line. So we typically, to maintain it, go in with weed whackers by hand and take care of it. And we got the bird flying in.
Trustee Orozco?
Thank you. Blake, I mean, I see that there are road markings along the left-hand side of this really cool video. But once it's paved, is this a possible, like, walking path for people in the public, or will it be shut down?
It is fenced on the Linden Road side, but on the back side along the main canal, it will be walkable, usable. There you go. Perfect. So a lot of people actually use it now.
Yeah.
And part of this project, too, as that video ended, you came up to the main canal. There was no crossing of Blacker Canal. There will be a culvert placed there, so we could actually drive across or walk across. So there will be access right here. So yes, it can be definitely be used by the public. There's a pedestrian bridge south of this that crosses over the main canal, and so people do use this for walking.
Yeah,
so
okay, now I'm tracking. I wasn't sure where that other video was taken. I do have lots of friends. My son's friends all travel to like Bridgeway Park and stuff through these pathways. I'm just, wearing another hat. I know that the city of West Sacramento is working on integrating these walkways and bikeways and things like that. And I know that that's not the main purpose of making sure that we're doing this. We certainly have our maintenance needs and stuff, but if there's any way we can dual or, ensure that this is an amenity for the public at the same time, that'd be a cool win-win, right?
Yeah, it will more than likely be a dirt road. We're not going to pave this right now, but it gets pretty solid, and when we do debris cleanup, we have a wood chipper, and we spread that out to stabilize the surface so it's not a muddy mess. So again, like I said, people use this path all the time whenever we're driving. They're maintaining it. There's pedestrians both walking and biking and so on. So I think it's used quite a bit.
Yes.
Thank you.
Susie,
Thank you for this drone footage. It's fascinating to actually be able to see and almost feel like you can touch the project. It's very close to folks' homes, and I'm wondering if this is a loud or disruptive construction project, and if neighbors are notified that this is happening in their backyard, side yard?
They have been notified through the CEQA process, and I've also sent them letters. It's been a while since with those letters went out, but we will definitely notify them. I'm in communication with 2 or 3 of the landowners out there, and they pretty much have huddled up as a group to discuss the project. So
I think there was some feedback about the, for the habitat,
yes.
Sapezio Hole, that I think that other hat you wear, Eola
The
Habitat.
Eola Habitat Conservancy?
Yes,
Yeah, this isn't
okay.
in, I think, one of our zones or.
No, yeah, you're right, but it's just to kind of connect with the wildlife. There was an extensive, I think we were doing Zoom meetings at that time, so it was like, and so would you mind if you can find a copy for Trustee Sapezio Hope for a little background on the comments that were provided so that she has that information?
Yeah, unfortunately, the comments all came in before my time, so I don't know exactly what the comments were. I don't know, Ralph, if you might have any background, but there were 2 sides, and I'll let Ralph jump in. Those that were very concerned about their property, losing their backyard fences. I think even somebody said he's seeing cracks in his walls. And then you had some that haven't lost a lot of the property yet, that liked it for the wilderness, the ducks, the birds, and so on. So,
I have a question.
No, Ralph is not present. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ralph.
The district did receive numerous comments from affected and interested neighbors in the area. Those were all addressed as part of the CEQA process. And currently, the project's designed according to those, the best we could do according to those comments. And responses to the comments were provided to the folks who provided comments. So the district addressed all of them, and now it's time to move forward with the project if you choose.
Real quick for reference sake. So on both sides, you would have that retaining wall you were talking about? And
Yes.
How long would that be?
it's the total project is 3,000 feet. The video that you watched is about 2,000 feet of the project, both sides. As you go to the eastern side of Linden, only one side of the canal would be repaired.
Okay, thank you. And just in between, what is it that you do? Do you do filler, like small rocks?
Yes. So they will get into the channel. The channel's been relatively dewatered at this point. We've had some pumps running to help discharge the water out of it. So they'd be in the channel working. They have to dig down a little bit to set the first baskets, and then you place the rock into the basket and then build up from there, placing fill behind the baskets to widen the road.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions among the trustees? All right. General Manager, did you have any, so do you want us to, do we approve
the bid
Yeah,
at this point?
I didn't put recommendations in here. I wanted it more of a big discussion, but my recommendation would be let's move forward with the project. It did come in well over our engineer's estimate. A couple of reasons for that. This is late in the season to start a construction project. The project has to be done this year at June of 2025, which, in California, we're restricted to basically starting work in April of 2025, so that only gives us about 2 months next year. If all weather conditions pan out, we could start earlier, but because of some of the stormwater pollution prevention, we have to wait before we have to wait for the rains to stop before we can get back to work. So anyway, that drove the cost of this project, starting later in the season and a very, very short duration. So, but we evaluated the contractor, and they've done this type of work, and they're actually big in the levee industry, and I've worked with them quite a few times in the past and highly recommend them. So I think they'll do a good job on the project. So my recommendation is to move forward. Then we also are eligible for the FEMA grant. So anything else other than that, we lose the FEMA grant. During the time that we opened bids to late last week, to lose the grant, to try to save money on a different project, we'd have to save $2 million to make sense to not do this project, and I don't think we could save $2 million with a different design. So I think this is our best bet to move forward with.
Okay. So you're asking for approval then?
So I'd asking for approval to enter into a contract with Odin, who is the lowest, most responsible bidder for this project.
So I move that we approve this.
Trustee Alcala moved. Trustee Early seconded. And Mr. General Manager, please call the roll.
I'm sorry, who first?
Trustee Alcala.
Alcala.
Sorry, I got to speak to this mic. My
Closer.
computer's move over this way.
Right. Trustee Alcala.
Aye.
Trustee Orozco.
Aye.
Trustee Cepizio Hall.
Aye.
Trustee Early.
Aye.
President Guerrero.
Aye. Right.
Thank you.
You are approved to get to work. Next is consideration of entering into a temporary construction easement between Reclamation District 900 and Mao G. Buscom LLC for construction of the Blacker Canal Slope Rehabilitation Project. Mr. General Manager?
So as part of the Blacker Canal construction project, we need to provide the contractor with a staging area. And fortunately, there is about 1.7, 1.8 acres just down the street, right at Linden and Jefferson. I don't remember the name of the shopping center, but it's right there. Nice big area. It's got electricity. It's got water. So whatever the contractor needs is right there. The parcel is for sale or for lease. I contacted the real estate agent. They said they'd love to lease it to us because it's been vacant for many years. And so they've agreed to a $70,000 lease from August 1st of 24 to August 1st of 2025. So it'd be a year lease for our contractor and for us to either they could set up a construction office on this site or store the materials, their equipment there, so that and because the project's moving forward, I would recommend approving this one also.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Any questions among the trustees? If not, I'll accept the motion to approve this item.
Early moves.
I'll second.
Trustee Early moved, and Trustee Sulpicio Ho seconded. Mr. General Manager, please call the roll.
Trustee Alcala,
Aye.
Trustee Orozco,
Aye.
Trustee Early,
Aye.
Trustee Sulpicio Hall,
Aye.
President Guerrero.
Aye. All right, this item is approved. Next is a General Manager update. Mr. General Manager?
All right. So under our admin and so on, we've completed our anti-harassment under our workplace violence plan. We are currently working on our financial policies and procedures. The city has provided us with their policies and procedures. I also have policies and procedures from another jurisdiction, and lo and behold, they match pretty close. So we're working on that now. Also, our previous board meeting, we talked about some of the benefits, so we're still getting quotes or working on getting quotes to find the best plans for benefits. Operation maintenance, again, we're still out mowing and keeping the grasses low and hopefully keeping the fire danger lessened. I think, too, at a previous board meeting, we talked about duckweed. We got another complaint discussion at the same pond by another resident. So we're looking at chemical treatment's very, very expensive. Fortunately, the chemicals for treating it are not hazardous chemicals, but it's very expensive. And we've got 2 ponds that are hydraulically connected. There's a pipe under the road that has no closure structure. So if we treat the pond that has the duckweed, theoretically, the chemicals could go into the bigger pond, meaning we need more chemicals to treat. The bigger pond does not have the problem as the smaller pond. So it could be we're just dumping chemicals and chemicals into this thing to treat it. So we do have a consultant we work with for our chemical applications. So we're looking at almost like a pool skimmer, actually getting out there and dragging the surface of the pond and seeing if we can help clean it up that way. We actually do have a boat that we use to get into the ponds and lakes to spray, so we could use that. And either it's a net or I think a pool hand skimmer is a little too small for this job, but I think it's about a 2-acre pond. But so we're looking into that. So luckily there isn't a smell, but it's green, and usually it dissipates. I don't know why it's not dissipating. Ducks bring it in, and so the more animals, birds we have, it's going to continue. So.
May I ask a question on that?
Mm-hmm.
Is the main complaint just it's ugly?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it sits in a location, it's closer to the commercial, the Target area, but right across the street, the 2-story homes get to overlook it, and, you know, I understand that
Yeah,
they're looking at a green pond.
I really like the idea of the Audubon Society and some education around that, because as a resident who drives by that daily, there's an initial thought that something might be wrong.
Sure,
And so I love
yeah.
the idea of being able to educate folks that that's actually good.
Yeah, we're looking at that, and the idea came internally, but we also had talked with another district, and they provided us with the sign that, I can't remember which agency put it up, but it described why the pond is green, and it does provide food for birds. Not so good for fish, because it's cuts the oxygen level in the water. We don't have fish in there. I mean, we probably do, but it's not a fishing pond. It wasn't made for that. It's purely a stormwater pond, and the water that's in it now is groundwater, and so there's nothing feeding it at this point. Let's see, Blacker Canal, we're moving forward with now, so we'll give updates as time moves on. Let's see, anything else? I've mentioned in the past the Army Corps and their levee inspections. We still don't have a date as to when they want to do that. We're still going through the documentation to correct anything that the Army Corps found years back, and I think most of them have been corrected, but there's still a few challenges out there that we're dealing with, and we are working with West Safeca on some of those issues, which are closure structures. In the event of a 200-year storm event, I-80 needs to be closed, the railroad crossing needs to be closed, and the district doesn't have a plan for that right now, so we're working with Safeca and the Army Corps for those issues. FEMA and the disasters of 23, that's still in FEMA's hands. There's a couple of projects that have been what they call obligated, so FEMA has approved them, and so then it goes to Cal OES for reimbursement to the district. So now we're waiting for Cal OES to write the check. So I talked to Cal OES earlier this week, so they're going back through to see why checks haven't been written. It's usually a paperwork has not been filled out or filled out correctly, so we'll get that straightened out. FEMA's just unfortunately been swamped with lots of disasters these last few years, so we'll continue keeping you updated on that. The slip out on the Deepwater Ship Channel, that's still underway. I have a meeting with the state Central Valley Flood Protection Board and the Army Corps tomorrow. It's a bi-weekly meeting just to keep us updated as the process rolls through. So again, they're still saying they'll have it constructed and completed by November of this year. And with that, I have no other items to add. So if any questions?
Questions?
Yeah, can I ask you a little bit about the levee inspections and that unacceptable rating? The encroachments with no encroachment permits, it sounds like a lot like paperwork issues. Do you think that was a majority of, because we've heard through conversations of you guys are catching up on paperwork and finding stuff in different locations. Was that a big part of the unacceptable rating?
Yes, a majority of them was misplaced paperwork. So the state has gone through after this inspection and found paperwork that showed that these encroachments were approved by the state. Any levee encroachments that come to us, as you're well aware, you endorse them, and then they go to the Central Valley Flood Board for approval. So back many years ago, I think sometimes that process was skipped. So the state's actually gone through to find those missing. We're still, so they've eliminated a lot of those, and a lot of them actually were on the old river levee on the Sac River. So once they did the new Southport setback levee, that remedied a whole bunch of issues. So we have, we went from 50 encroachments down to 6. So we're getting real close to wrapping all of the encroachments up. So, and one of the encroachments is actually RD900. The old shop on the Deepwater Ship Channel was built into the toe of the levee. And so that's, as a maintaining district, we violated the rules. Again, it was done probably 50, 60 years ago, but there was no permit issued on that. So the other bigger items was rodent control. There was rodent issues, significant rodent issues in the past. That's been taken care of for the most part. Bait stations have been set up to poison the rodents. They have changed the laws where the bait that has been used historically is being banned in California. So, and there was no substitution yet. So we're still kind of waiting for the state to come back to see what they will allow. We can still use the bait as of now, but at some point that it will be cut off completely. So what the fix, if you do find a rodent hole, if we find a rodent hole, we fill it with grout, cement, and that covers up the hole in the
Cold-blooded, man.
all kinds of fun.
Cold.
He'll find another way out. If he wants to survive. All right, with that, trustee comments? No? Well, thank you so much, Blake, for everything. I
Thank
know
you.
you've been busy. And we are now adjourned.
Thank you all.